What is going on, everybody? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley, and welcome back to Steelers Almighty, the fastest growing Steelers channel on YouTube. Appreciate everybody being in here today, man. We got a good show for you guys. First up, the initial roster surprises. The roster came out last night. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the surprises in my eyes that the Steelers didn't keep on the initial 53-man roster. Then next up, look, we're doing win-loss prediction. We did one when the schedule came out. We're doing another one again after, again, I know it's not necessarily the final roster, but the 53-man has cut down. It's about as close as we can get right now, so we're going to do another schedule prediction here. Next, draft failures. You know, there's been some draft failures over the years for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to take a dive into exactly why and who's responsible, and then the offensive expectations of 2025. We've talked a ton about the defense and what we expect out of the defense based on how much money that they're making. Well, damn it, we're going to talk about the offense today. So appreciate everybody being in here. As always, again, you can find us at Steeler or on youtube.com/Steelers Almighty. Anywhere you have social media, make sure you sign up and see Steelers Almighty there. Like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you prefer the audio version of this podcast, anywhere you get a podcast, you can find Steelers Almighty. So appreciate you guys, man. Let's get into this thing. So, first up, the initial roster surprises. Now, again, I want to make sure that I'm clear and say this is the initial roster. You know, this is not the 53 that they're gonna walk into. I don't even know what the stadium is. It's a Gillette Stadium now in New York. Either way, playing the Jets first week in New York, it's not necessarily going to be that roster. Now, for the most part, yes, but there'll still be some shakes and some moves here or there. But there were some surprises. There just was some guys that I thought that had an opportunity not just to make the roster, but actually get significant playing time that actually got cut. So we're going to dive into that. First up, look at the wide receiver room. There's only 5 wide receivers, and I think you got to have more than that. Now, obviously, that has been something of contention with Steeler fans over the last several years that the Steelers can't find enough receivers. That's been a problem, and now we only have 5. Um, it seems light to me. It seems like there should be more. At least 6. I'm not saying you have to have 10. I'm not saying you have to go overboard like the New England Patriots, who initially kept 8 on their 53-man roster. But 5 seems a little light. I definitely think they need another guy. Whatever that happens to be. I know a lot of people are still screaming, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 2. I think we need to pump the brakes on that, ladies and gentlemen. That's just the Steelers are going to rock with who they have currently, but that doesn't mean they can't add another guy. I just don't think it's going to be who we want it to be or we believe it needs to be for the Steelers. I just don't see that happening at this point. But I do think they need to add somebody else. 6 wide receivers, I think, is what you need. But they're not going to make any trades. Kind of what I was talking about. I don't see that. Now, it doesn't mean they can't surprise us, and it also doesn't mean that I don't believe it should happen. But you guys know me. I tend to tell you what I think, tell you what I want or believe, but then I come back to reality based on what the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to do. And the Steelers, even though I think maybe they've tried to make some trades for some guys, they haven't done it. And they want it to be all on their terms. They value that draft capital for whatever reason. I think it's more than just quarterback. The Steelers are trying to get younger. And the way you get younger is you use draft picks. That's what's going to happen next year. Sure, they'll use one to move up, but the Steelers are trying to flip their roster and become a younger roster. And this is one way that they can do that next season. So I just don't think they're going to be willing to give up that draft capital. So we kind of have to forget about that right now. We've heard some rumors about guys coming in. Neither here nor there. It hasn't come to fruition. It's all literally just been rumors. Um, but sometimes when there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, we heard about the Jonnu Smith rumor, went away, and then all of a sudden it comes back, and then he's on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you never know. Things can still happen, but that was before mini camp. That was before training camp. I mean, I think the Steelers are kind of set right now, but I still am surprised that we only kept five. I thought there would be more, but it is what it is. Let's just live in the reality and hope that it works out. Now, as far as safety is concerned, yeah, man. First off, we don't have any depth. That's surprising. I thought that they would keep somebody, and I get it that Jalen Ramsey is going to work a lot in when we go to our three safety look. He can be that guy or will be that guy. Okay, I have no problems with that, but I still think you need another guy. I still do because heaven forbid an injury happens to an outside corner, Jalen Ramsey's going to that position. Okay, so then what do we do? So I just, for me, I think you need another person. And I was real surprised. I mean, real surprised that Chuck Clark didn't make the football team. I thought that, first off, I thought that he was going to push Juan Thornhill for time, like maybe even for a possible starting position. I said it, I thought it. Now, preseason wasn't spectacular, but I thought it was clearly enough to be a team. Now, word on the street is Chuck Clark may be coming back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see if that happens, how the roster shakes out. But for me, I just thought that was a position that they could have had another guy. But again, I want to emphasize this was just the initial 53-man roster, not set in stone. Heck, it may not be set for the next hour. Who knows what could happen? There can be roster moves you don't know. But for now, this is what it looks like. I just thought Chuck Clark was a guy that we could have used on. Like I said, I know Jalen Ramsey will be doing a ton of safety looks, nickel corner looks when we go three safety. I get all of that, but I still believe you need another safety. And before anybody says it, I don't count Miles Killebrew. I do. Look, that's not being disrespectful, but it's just being truthful. Miles Killebrew is on the Pittsburgh Steelers because of his special teams. That's absolutely it. If he's in the football game playing safety for us, guys have been hurt and we're in trouble because he's not a good safety. Not defend. He's just not that guy. He's a special teams guy. So, and then last, the total number of defensive linemen, a lot, just a lot. Now, I'm not saying that there's not a place for them, but I don't know, man. Again, D line depth is one thing. Everybody wants to have good D line depth. But do the Steelers? I think they do. And then when you start getting to the bottom of it, it's like, okay, what are we doing? Maybe some of that, again, roster positions can change, but maybe you take a guy and you get another receiver or somewhere that nature. I know I get on Isaiah Loudermilk, and then we had a ton of fun last night uh, with Loudermilk. We don't need to do it again. We had a ton of fun, but I just haven't seen it. I just haven't seen it, and I'm not the only one. You guys haven't seen it from him. Um, I, he's still on the football team, though. He's still on the football team. There's a couple of others. I'm just not sure that those guys help the Steelers more than an extra safety or an extra wide receiver would. You know what I'm saying? Like, does having an eighth D lineman, is that more valuable than another wide receiver that could help the offense or a safety? I get it. You need depth, but the quality of the depth down that deep versus somebody as a safety that could actually be on the field with meaningful snaps, it's a different conversation. So, and then look, the one that doesn't surprise me, I know we're talking about surprises, but the one that didn't surprise me was Beanie Bishop. Now, Beanie Bishop appears to sign with the Steelers practice squad, but this one actually didn't surprise me. And it's not Beanie's ability per se. Like, I don't think he's a bad football player. The Steelers just upgraded at the position. And I don't think people talk about that enough to because they're this world is kind of in a world of when you're in the internet space of, well, if somebody's not good enough, that means you think they're bad. I don't think Beanie Bishop is a bad football player. I think he's got room to grow, room to improve, but I don't think he's bad. Compared to other NFL football players, I don't think he's bad. But there are guys that are better, and the Steelers upgraded, and there just wasn't room. They trusted other guys better. Now, the guy that obviously comes to mind, I know you're going to say it, I say it, is like Corey Trice Jr. must have 400 lives, not 9 lives like a cat, 400. Because the Steelers just continue to give that man opportunity after opportunity, and he literally can't stay on the field because of injury. And I said this last night in the big show, and I'll say it today, is Corey Trice Jr. must be the most amazing practice player in the history of the National Football League. Because for the Steelers to continue to trust this guy who has actually been on the field and he looked okay, wasn't great, but he's always hurt. And for them to continue to trust him, which means they've seen stuff in practice, I mean, he must be outstanding. He must be good for him. Kudos to him. But he starts on the IR, Beanie Bishop off. It just didn't surprise me. But um, either way, the one thing to keep in mind, though, people, a lot of people don't know this. Being on the practice squad now, you can actually be called up on game day to be a part of the 47-man roster that actually gets a helmet. That can happen. So before, we just cast Beanie Bishop aside, if an injury happens to pop up, Beanie Bishop still has an opportunity to play on Sundays, even if he is on the practice squad. That is kind of the luxury of the practice squad and how they've changed things over the years. Um, in years past, practice squad players, they weren't necessarily, I mean, they were thought of, but it was down the totem pole. They didn't get paid nearly as much money as what they do now. You absolutely couldn't get called up. Now, you could get taken by any team in the National Football League. That's still a thing today. But it wasn't like, hey, I can get called up and then go right back down to the practice squad. That's not how that worked. It does work that way now, which is good. And there's more positions out there available. But so there's still an opportunity for Beanie. He signed with the practice squad. Good for him. But it didn't surprise me that he didn't make the 53-man. But it kind of is what it is, people. So let's go to the poll. I like what the Steelers did, but there was definitely some surprises here um, that go along with it. So let's go to the poll. How do you feel about? There we go. How do you feel about the Steelers only keeping 5 wide receivers on the roster? A, strongly agree. It's a smart move for depth. B, somewhat agree. I can see the reasoning. C, somewhat disagree. We could use another wide receiver. And D, strongly disagree. This is a risky decision. Here's my thinking on it. If they bring in somebody, depending on who that is that person really going to move the needle enough? You know what I'm saying? Like, at this point, the Steelers aren't bringing in somebody that's going to come in and be a starting wide receiver immediately. That's just not going to happen. So, does it really matter all that much as of right now? Clearly, you want depth. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not sure that it moves the needle enough at this point. But I get it. It's a good point. It's a good question. Love the poll. Let's move on. Oh, by the way, remember to put a number in front of any answer or in front of that answer, excuse me, so we know exactly what poll that you are answering. So let's move on. Win loss prediction. Now, we've done a podcast when the schedule came out on picking games. But like I mentioned at the top of this, there's things have changed. Rosters have changed. Steelers made a couple of trades after this. Training camp, cut downs, all that good stuff. This is where we are right now as Pittsburgh Steelers fans. So I'm going to break down. We'll do it quick. We're not going to go through the whole kit and caboodle like we did previously. But I think it's important that we do a roster prediction, especially since we have our a prediction that our contest that I'll talk about a little bit later. So here we are. Here's the schedule, and let's just break it down. Week 1, the Jets. Got to win the game against the Jets. Not so much, oh, it's Justin Fields or it's Aaron Rodgers playing their old teams. No, but the Jets, some people think they're going to be good. I don't think they are. And I think the Steelers are better than them, and you want to get the season off to a good start. Got to win week 1. Next up, Seattle, home opener. We should be able to give Sam Darnold fits. He sees ghosts when he sees pressure, when he sees blitzes. The Steelers got to throw all of that in the kitchen sink at Sam Darnold. Um, I think that's a win. We're at home. I think we're a better football team than Seattle. Got to win. Week 3, ton of buzz about New England. You know, Mike Vrabel's the new coach. They spent a lot of money. Are they better than the Steelers? I don't think so. I know ESPN will tell you that, but if you really watch football and you pay attention, how good is that receiving core? Not very good. How good is Drake May against pressure and against the blitz? Not very good. I give the Steelers the advantage in this game, and I think the Steelers will win. Now, going to Dublin against Minnesota the next week, that's where I think the Steelers have their first loss. Minnesota's talented. I know the quarterback is young, and I think whether we like Mike Tomlin's defense or not, he gives rookie quarterbacks fits, and J.J. McCarthy did not play last year. So either way, they're talented. They are very talented. Jordan Addison will be back by then. Their defense is really good. I just think I'm not sure the Steelers can get this one done against a really talented football team. Then we move on. Then we get Cleveland at home, coming off the bye week. So Cleveland, that's just got to be a win. Self-explanatory. We're better than them. It's Cleveland. We got to win the game. Then Thursday night at Cincinnati. Tough, but I think it's a loss. I think it's a loss. Cincinnati's good. I know their defense is going to stink, and I truly believe their defense again is going to stink. At home, short week, Thursday night. I think it'll be tough. Either way, I think Cincinnati gets us. Then the next week against Green Bay on Sunday night, I think Green Bay gets us. Green Bay's a talented football team on both sides of the football. Not that I don't think we can compete with them. I just think currently, I think they're going to make just a couple of more plays than we will to be able to beat us. Don't like it. Don't like it. That's 2 in a row. Then we come back. Things change for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Come home on a great day. Actually, it's the best day of the year, November 2nd. You guys can probably figure out why, but it's the best day for anybody, at least for me, on the calendar. Indianapolis Colts, that's a win, ladies and gentlemen. That is a win. Then we go Sunday Night Football the next week to the Chargers. Again, ton of talk about the Chargers. Oh, they're going to make the playoffs. Here's my thing about that. The Steelers are a better football team than last year, better quarterback play than last year, and we beat the Chargers last year. We're going to go and beat the Chargers on Sunday Night Football. First off, yeah, it's a road game. You guys know, just like I do, 50% of the fans at least are going to be Steeler fans in there. So will it really be a home game? Every time we go out there, 50% of those fans are Steeler fans. It might even be 60 to 65%, especially on a Sunday night game. Yeah, not going to be a real home or road environment. It's going to be more like a home environment. I give the Steelers that one. Then we come back and we play Cincinnati. We're not going to get swept by the Bengals. I don't think anybody believes that. So that's a home win for us. Go to Chicago. We go beat Chicago. Caleb Williams, how good is he? Don't know. How good is that offensive line? That's the thing. How good is that offensive line? Better in the interior, tricky on the tackles, trying to block Highsmith, Watt, Herbig. Yeah, trouble. I think we win. That's 4 in a row. Things are looking good. Looking good. And then we play Buffalo. And Buffalo and Josh Allen has just been our kryptonite. The game's at home. I just don't think we beat Buffalo. There's levels to certain stuff, and I'm not saying the Steelers can't get to that level, but right now they're just not there. They're just not there. So, and it doesn't really matter who their wide receivers are. Josh Allen has proven to be that dude, unfortunately. So I think they get us. And then there's Baltimore. We go to Baltimore. I think the Ravens get us again. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but I think that's what happens. I think we go to Baltimore and the Ravens beat us. Look, there's no doubt. We don't like the Ratbirds, don't get me wrong, but they're talented. We're lying to ourselves if we don't think that they're talented, ultra talented. Monday Night Football, we come home. It's in games in December. It's going to be at night. December in Pittsburgh. If it's below 50, we're going to beat Miami. If it's below 40, we're going to blow out Miami. So either way, if it's above 50 degrees in the middle of December at night in Pittsburgh, we got problems on our hands. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's a win. Then we go to Detroit. Don't like it. Don't like it. I think Detroit gets us. Again, Detroit's ultra talented. They are ultra talented. And it's on the road. I think they get us. And here's the one that I go back and forth, and I've went back and forth on, but we go to Cleveland, and I think we lose. This is a Mike Tomlin special. We've all talked about it. We all know what that means. A game the Pittsburgh Steelers are supposed to win, and they lose, and they do it every single year. Now, usually there's a couple of these. I didn't give grace on all of these. There's a few in there that I thought could be Tomlin specials, and I didn't put those on there. I didn't do that. But I think, unfortunately, this is one. We lose two in a row. Come home, end of the year. I think Baltimore, to be honest with you, I think they've got things wrapped up. They don't play. We go and we beat the Baltimore Ravens at the end of the season to close out the season. So if you add everything up, that is a 10-7 season. Now, here's the thing. I've been screaming for the better part of a year and a half since we started this channel about, well, Mike Tomlin, he's always going to win 9 games. I believe that. I'm not going to believe that the Steelers are going to have a losing record until I see it. I stand by that. I'm just never going to believe it until I see it. And it's not like we don't have 18 years of proof. I'm not saying that means anything, so don't go crazy on me. All I'm saying is we haven't seen a losing season in 18 years. Fine. However, a lot of people think the Steelers can go 11-6, maybe even 12-5. Until I see that, I'm not betting on that either, people. And that's where I stand with it. Is like, until I see that we can go win 11 games. Now, don't get me wrong. We've won 11 games in that time frame, but it hadn't been recently, and that fool's gold that we call the 2020 season, the COVID season. Steeler fans, you knew the Steelers weren't that good. We all knew the Steelers weren't that good. And when we got to the playoffs and played Cleveland, it showed up. So there it was. That's all I'm saying. And I'll go both ways with it. Yes, I truly believe that until I see Mike Tomlin have a losing record, I'm not going to believe it's going to happen. But that's the same thing with me saying the Steelers are going to win 11 and 12 games. Till I see it happen, not going to believe it. So I'm not going to pick it. That's just where I stand with it, people. That's where I stand with it. I know that some people might say it's flip-flopping. I just call it being honest with yourself. That's all. Do I want and hope the Steelers to have a better record? Absolutely. Absolutely. But until it happens, I'll be reserved. Let's just call it that. I'll be reserved. Let's go to the poll, people. Poll question 2. How many games do you believe we will win in the regular season this year? A, 6-8, B, 9-11, C, 12-14, D, 15 plus. 15 plus. There will be some people that say that. So make sure you put a 2 in front of your answer so we know exactly what poll question you are answering, people. Let's move on. We are at halftime. So again, thank everybody for all the support that you guys have shown to Steelers Almighty channel, man. Couldn't do this thing without you. Wouldn't even want to do it without you, to be honest with you. I have a ton of fun with you guys each and every week. We love putting out all this content that not only you guys can enjoy, but we enjoy doing it, man. That's what makes this whole thing fun. So, next thing is as far as memberships, we're doing a lot of stuff, all 22, the entire football game. Sign up at the all pro level here and you can check out our all 22. You become a part of our Facebook page group there, and you can get all the all 22 action live there with me breaking down the entire football game. Also, in the same token, if you want to be a member and watch our live watch parties every week, every Pittsburgh Steelers game, regular season game, sign up to be a member at the Hall of Fame level. We are breaking it all down, having a ton of fun watching the games. You guys can watch it with me. We have a lot of fun in there. Then we are having our pick contest, ladies and gentlemen. This is a lot of fun. Again, all you have to do is pick the games. $0 to enter. Pick every game right, and you get to win $250 of Steelers Almighty merch. That's all you need to do. Sounds hard or can sound easy. Pick every single game right, and you win. No tiebreaker, or there is a tiebreaker, but once you lose, you're out. Tiebreaker is the number of points that the Steelers are going to average on offense and the number of points that they're going to give up on defense. You get the closest to that, that's the tiebreaker. But all you got to do is answer every or pick every game correctly. You do it before the season starts, so make sure you get your entries. You click on the link, boom, add it to it. Costs you absolutely nothing to enter. So appreciate everybody, man. Should be a lot of fun doing that. Let's move on. The Pittsburgh Steelers have had some draft failures. Now, they're not any different than any other football team. Everybody has draft failures. But what caught my eye to talk about this, first of all, we kind of talked about it all off season. But with some of the roster cuts that were done, it just seems like they've been a little glowing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, here's what I would say. First off, let's clarify what an actual hit or miss is in the NFL draft. I believe anything between round 1 and round 4, you can have a hit or miss on. Okay? Anything between round 5 and round 7, I don't think you can classify that as a miss, because how often do we say, "Oh man, that 5th round pick, he was a bust." Oh man, that 5th round pick, that guy couldn't play. Now, the rosters are littered with 5th round picks. So I'm not trying to disrespect anybody's train of thought or any particular 5th round pick or anything. But what I'm just saying is they got drafted in the 5th round. Are you really comparing that to a guy that got drafted in the 2nd? I would say no. So that's why I say that for me is my cutoff. Anything between rounds 1 and 4, that's bust material. 5 and 7, no, no. You can miss, don't get me wrong, but I'm just not going to call you a bust between 5 and 7. So I wouldn't say that's necessarily a draft miss, if that makes sense. 5 is pushing it. It really is, to be honest with you. But I still believe at round 5 to 7, you got to have some wiggle room there. You got to have some wiggle room. So, but 1 to 4, no wiggle room. So let's take a look at it. I guess who's to blame is the first thing. It's like, who on the Steelers is to blame? And some people want to put it all on one person. People want to put it on people that no longer are employed. For me, it's a collection of everybody, and I'll break it all down for you. One, the general manager that I'm not going to bring up is Omar Khan. And the reason that I'm not going to bring up Omar Khan as of yet is because I think it's still too early. Okay. His first draft picks, we're looking at Broderick Jones, Keanu Benton, Joey Porter Jr. They're still on the Pittsburgh roster. So I think it's too early for people to blame. Now, you can blame them and say, well, you haven't brought a wide receiver to the Steelers yet. That's fair. I mean, can't deny that. A second wide receiver, I should say. Absolutely fair. But he hasn't drafted one either. So that's what I'm talking about as far as misses. It's like, what are we doing? And for me, Omar Khan, I'm not placing any of that on him yet. Now, we'll see how this season goes, and we may be having a very, very different conversation. But for now, We're going to leave Omar Khan out of this. So then who do we talk about? Kevin Colbert. Yeah. Yeah, Kevin Colbert's got to take a lot of blame. A lot of blame. He's the general manager. He drafted Baby Hands Pickett when we didn't have to. Not only did he draft him, his whole thing was saying, oh man, I can't believe that he was there at 20. I didn't think there was any way he was going to be there at 20. Well, he was. And he lasted in Pittsburgh 2 years. And colossal mistake. I almost lost a television over it when the Steelers drafted it. I wanted to throw something at it, but my dog jumped up. My wife kind of looked at me and screamed, no. I could not believe what was happening because most people said he was a third round pick. We reached. No other quarterback got picked that draft until the third round. It was a terrible quarterback draft. Bad. But you look at that last draft by Kevin Colbert, and that's reasons what some of these problems persist. Kenny Pickett, first round. George Pickens is not a miss, but he didn't work out in Pittsburgh, and he's no longer on the roster. So I guess maybe if you say he's no longer on the roster, don't you have to say that's a miss? Yeah, kind of. I think you do. DeMarvin Leal just got cut. Calvin Austin, the third, fourth round. Connor Hayward, Super Hayward, is sixth round. Then we got Mark Robinson and Chris Oladuncan. I'm sorry. Mark Robinson just got cut. I don't know what happened to Oladukin. I think that's how you pronounce it, Oladu. I don't even know what happened to him, but he clearly hadn't been around for a while. Two people still left from that draft. Calvin Austin III and Connor Hayward. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, that's a hard, and this is not like guys that were drafted 6-7 years ago. It's 2022, and they're not on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Horrific draft. Horrific. And this is what we get left with. That's what I'm talking about. Then you look at 2021. They drafted Najee in the first round. Probably could have went a different avenue. There were plenty of people. Creed Humphrey comes to mind, but plenty of people that were available. Freiermuth, second round. Look, whether you like Muth or not, Muth is a good tight end. I'm not saying he's the greatest. I'm not saying he's, even top 5 or something crazy like that. He isn't, but he's a serviceable tight end. But there were other guys that were available. Kendrick Green in the third round, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to say anything. I don't think I have to say anything. All I'm going to say is Kendrick Green in the third round. Dan Moore Jr. in the fourth round. Now, Dan Moore just got paid, but we watched Dan Moore for 4 years. And I don't want to hear the comparisons about Broderick Jones and yada, 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 and what Broderick looks like now. There isn't a person on earth that I knew that was saying pay Dan Moore $80 million to stay with the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you're saying that now, you are absolutely lying to yourself. Don't do that. Don't do that. Nobody was saying pay him that kind of money. Bottom line, a horrible draft, back-to-back years. You're paying the price for that. You're paying the price for that. Moving on, Mike Tomlin, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Mike Tomlin is to blame. There's some people that want to think that only the general manager picks the players, makes the decision, that's it. That couldn't be further from the truth. In Pittsburgh, at least. If you're trying to tell me that Mike Tomlin's been around and he's going on year 19, that he doesn't have a say, if not the final say, on who's on the roster, who gets drafted. Do you believe that? No, because I don't. I don't even pretend like I believe that, and neither should you. So for anybody out there that's believing that Mike Tomlin has nothing to do with it, stop. I'll just say that don't think that way. Come on, be realistic. Mike Tomlin has his handprint all over this. Now, is it the biggest handprint? That could be debatable. It very well could be. And the only reason that I say that is because if Mike Tomlin had the biggest handprint when Kenny Pickett was taken, he also had the biggest handprint in saying, we missed, we got to get this guy out of here. So it goes both ways. Either way, Mike Tomlin's hands are all over Pittsburgh Steelers drafts. So you can't blame only Kevin Colbert. It is not only his fault. That is ridiculous to even think that. Mike Tomlin has an enormous amount of power in the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. He uses it. He should use it. That's why he's got the power. Having said all of that, you can't exonerate him from draft blunders. That would be silly. But the biggest person of them all, to me, is Art Rooney II. And look, the buck stops with him. You know, he's the owner. He makes the decision, the final decision. Now, if he was an owner that just let the general manager and the head coach do their thing and he just stayed out of it, a la what Robert Kraft used to do with the Patriots, I would be fine. But Art Rooney, he's not that way. You know, he takes after his father, who wants to be who was involved. But the difference is his father was a football man. Absolutely, Dan Rooney was a football man. Yes, he was. His son is not, and that is the difference. So if you're not a football guy, stay out of it. But he doesn't. And maybe a lot of people don't know that, but you talk to some Steeler insiders, Art Rooney is way more involved than what we think that he is. He's silent, doesn't always talk to the media. I mean, he's not Jerry Jones having press conferences 3 times a week and the first person to speak after a football game. You're never going to see that, but he's involved. And to exonerate him from what goes down on draft day would be silly. Again, I'm not saying he's out there scouting football players or doing any and watching tape. But if you're not doing that, maybe you stay out of it a little bit. That's all I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I'm saying is that he deserves just as much blame as the rest of them. Because if you wanted change and you wanted things to change, you would do that. And here's another thought. People say, well, they did get rid of Kevin Colbert. No, they didn't get rid of Colbert. Retired. And here's how I know why. Because if Kevin Colbert, it came out that he was going to retire before the draft. You don't let somebody that's retiring draft the players. You just say they're done. That's it. Move on. You don't say, I know you're going to retire, but we're going to let you pick these guys. We already got the guy in place. We know who we're going to hire, but we're going to let you do it and then retire before the season, and we're just going to let you draft. Come on. Come on, people. Colbert didn't get fired. He quit or retired, whatever you want to call it. And Art Rooney, if you want a demand change, you're the guy to make the changes. So that's all I'm saying. Omar Khan's in, jury's still out. But if we want real change, our man Art Rooney's the guy that can make those changes. Art Rooney the second, I should say, is the man who can make those changes. So let's go to the poll, people. How do you rate the impact of Omar Khan's leadership on the Steelers' recent drafts compared to Kevin Colbert? Tricky question because, Colbert brought in some guys, but the last 4 or 5 years, ugh. But A, much better. B, somewhat better. C, about the same. D, worse. Pretty cut and dry. It's pretty cut and dry. Make sure you put a 3 in front of the letter that you are picking so we know what answer or what poll question you are answering. Let's move on. Offensive expectations. Look, there's a mixed bag of optimism coming into the 2025 season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let me explain what I'm talking about. We have a new quarterback, and he's a better quarterback than what we had last year. I think Aaron Rodgers is better than Russell Wilson and Justin Fields at just being a NFL quarterback. I think he's better. But then he's also 41 with some mobility issues or mobility concerns. That's what I'm talking about, a mixed bag. We got new faces at some other places as well. Like we got a new wide receiver. We brought in DK Metcalf, but we didn't address what the issue was on the other side of the field. While we brought in DK, we got rid of George Pickens, and we didn't necessarily address what's going on the other side of the field. So it's the same issue as what we had last season. At running back, yes, Jaylen Warren is more explosive, better vision. We've seen it. This is stuff that we've actually seen. But you know what else we've seen? Fumble issues, ball security issues, and some durability questions. Those are things that you never saw with Najee. Even when he was banged up, he showed up and he didn't fumble the football. Offensive line. I, I, I I think there's more questions this year than there were last year. While we didn't think that the offensive line was going to be up to snuff, I think there's more questions on both tackles positions than there definitely was last year. That's even with Broderick playing right side, because remember, Broderick wasn't bad his rookie year playing right tackle. He wasn't bad, but he was bad last year. And now he's moving to left, and we're bringing in a right tackle that played 55 snaps and then blew his knee out. So there's that. I'm just saying there's more questions as far as this offense this year than there was last year. Now, let's talk about last year, 2024 offense, 11th in rushing. Um, for as much as we talked about Najee and the offensive line, when we ran the football, we were 11th in the National Football League. That's better than average. It's not spectacular, but it's better than average, which is good. Look, Najee ran for 1,043 yards, 4 yards a carry, 6 touchdowns. He had another 36 catches. Again, as much as we talk about him, it's not explosive, but productive. You can't knock him for that. Moving on. We were 23rd in points, or excuse me, 23rd in total offense. Not good enough. Not good enough. 16th in points, basically, I mean, literally in the middle at 22.4 points a game. We were 27th in passing, which is 190, or with 192 yards a game. First off, the 192 is atrocious. 27th, unacceptable. Just unacceptable. That's obviously got to go back and has to improve. It has to improve. But I think part of that goes back to not having a solid wide receiver too, which again, we didn't, at least it doesn't appear that we have addressed. I know the Steelers are saying that they've addressed it, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, both of these guys were on the football team last year. One couldn't get on the field due to injury, and the Steelers not trusting him. Another guy, I'm just not convinced that Calvin Austin III is a wide receiver too. I think he's a good slot receiver, but I think that's what he is. But either way, the passing game's got to improve from what it looked like. Now, what would you consider success? And that's a good question, because that can be complex, but I don't think it has to be. I'm just going to break it down here for you guys. Bear with me. Need to continue to be a top 11 rushing team. Now, again, I just told you that rushing, the top 11 wasn't spectacular, but I don't think the Steelers have to be. Again, 11 is above average, in the National Football League. So, yeah, you want to run the football, you can be in the top 11. Great. But the passing, as I mentioned, it's got to improve. It's got to get better. 192 a game is despicable. I'll be quite honest. 192 yards a game passing is despicable. And this, yeah, it's just despicable. You got to get in the top 16. You got to get in the top 16. And if you can do that, I think, first of all, if the Steelers did that last year, I think they win 2 more football games. Last year, number 16, guess who that was? It was 218 yards a game, was the number 16 team in the National Football League in passing. It just happened to be the New York Jets. And their quarterback happened to be Aaron Rodgers. So you have the quarterback from a team that wasn't that good. They were 16th in the league in passing. Now, I get it. Some of those yards came with garbage time, or because they were behind so much, they had to throw the football. Whatever the case, I think you got to bump that up. Get to 16. 218 is not a ton of yards passing, people. Not like we're saying go out and throw for 300 yards a game. 218 yards a game is what we are looking for. And I know that includes sack yards. I totally get it. But 218 is what we're looking for. And not even 218. We're just looking to get to 16 in passing. I think that's a bump that is attainable. But scoring, here's the one that really it changes things. So the Steelers last year, 22.4 points per game. If they bump that up just 2 points, not a touchdown, not 5 points, 2 points a game. That gets them just under 25. If you want to round up or whatever the case may be, 25 a game, that gets them to 10. 10. If the Steelers are top 10 in scoring last year, easily 2 more wins. Easily 2 more wins. So you got to keep that kind of stuff in mind and keep it in perspective on what you believe the offense should look like. I don't think that these expectations are just crazy. I think these expectations are fine, ladies and gentlemen. I really do. So it's not that big of a jump or that big of a bump to be able to meet these expectations and to have a better football team. Will it happen? We don't know. But the one thing is, we don't have to wait long to find out, man. So appreciate that. Let's go to the poll question. Poll, what do you think will be the most critical factor for the Steelers offense to improve in 2025? How Aaron Rodgers meshes with Arthur Smith's offense. A. B. The emergence of a reliable wide receiver. 2. C. Improvement of the new offensive line. Or 3. A strong two-headed threat at running back. Make sure you put a 4 in front of your answer so we know what poll question that you are answering. Look, ladies and gentlemen, the season is right around the corner. Right around the corner. 53-man roster is done. There'll be some changes to it. There'll be some tweaks. But just don't expect for the Steelers to go out there and make some kind of big splash, for a wide receiver or anything like that. I don't believe it's going to happen. Would I like it to happen? Sure. But I don't think it's going to happen. And that's okay. That's okay. This is who we got. And let's go play football. All the talking and all that stuff has to stop. Part of the reason that the Steelers didn't make a big splash for wide receiver 2, I think they figure that they've solved somewhat of that passing problem with the tight end that they've brought in and having multiple tight ends, pass catching tight ends. I'm not saying they're wide receiver 2s, but I'm saying I think they have tried to alleviate some of that burden by having who they have on the offensive side of the football. So I'm excited to see it. Quite frankly, I'm ready for it to get going. I'm ready for this to get going, man. I'm excited for the season. You be excited. Appreciate everybody. That's all I got for you today, man. It's right around the corner. You can smell it. You can smell it. And I'm ready. So appreciate everybody. Thank you for always being there. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in the comments, and hit that notification bell so you know exactly when Steelers Almighty content comes out. Till next time, aloha.